So next we have Akeem Gardner. Akeem, where are you? Excellent. Akeem's going to be talking to us about blockchain and hemp for social impact, and he's from Atlas 365. Everybody, welcome Akeem.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, no worries. Hello, everyone. I'm Akeem Gardner of Atlas 365, and what I'm here to talk about today is how we can use blockchain and advanced technologies to scale social impact. I'm going to start with the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems that we have today, and talk about climate change, right here in Canada. Last year in 2018, we paid about $1.8 billion in insured damage because of extreme weather events. For every dollar the private sector spent, the public sector spent about $3. So our government paid about $5.4 billion of our taxpayers' money fixing our public infrastructure. Some of the other things about climate change, we know that it's increasing our the warmth in our summers, more air pollution. We know that we have 8 to 9 million premature deaths a year because of air pollution. And what's worse is that some of these problems we're bringing on ourselves because of how we build our homes. Not only are our homes susceptible to these extreme weather events, as we see in Ottawa and up in Muskoka, floods, high windstorms, so on and so forth, but they also are one of the leading contributors to greenhouse gas emissions in Canada. Our buildings are weak, they're filled with carcinogens. Like I said, they're susceptible to mold and more. So how do we fix that? And how do we scale some of the solutions that we have to fix that? Real quick, before I get there, I'm going to talk to you about Canadian youth. Two things that the Canadian youth are most concerned about: 94% concerned with the rising cost of housing, 87% concerned with solving climate change. Why is this important? Because of where climate change and our extreme weather events are today, our home insurance premiums are going up 2 to 4% every year. What does that mean? By year 2050, our home insurances can cost $94,000 per home. Right now, it costs on average of $780 in Canada. How is any of us going to afford to live in the future? We know today, we see our youth all making a difference, speaking up for what they believe in. We see Gretchen on the cover of Time magazine. We know that Generation Z, they're the ones who are most concerned about what they spend their money on, and they're the ones who are most passionate about making a difference with this money. Generation Z, they're going to be about 40% of our consumers by year 2040. And our youth can make a difference. They say that we're in a youthquake. We're in a time of significant cultural, political, or social change arising from the actions or influence of youth and people. So how do we harness all this to make an impact for our future? How do we harness our youth and allow our youth to make a difference in a decentralized world? Well, we're Atlas 365, and what we do is we use our lands, our plants, and our technology to create a sustainable world through industrial hemp. Now, real quick, I'm going to tell you about industrial hemp. No, you cannot get high from smoking industrial hemp. That's what everyone thinks. It's not marijuana. Instead, industrial hemp is a plant that has very low THC, very high CBD. So instead, it gets you healthy. We don't need to take opioids or painkillers anymore to heal ourselves. We can take CBD. But what we can also do, I'm most excited about industrial hemp, is we can harness nature's technology for growing our homes and our buildings. This is very exciting. Why? Because hemp is one of the biggest, strongest carbon sinks that we have in the world. 1 acre of hemp is 4 times as efficient at absorbing carbon dioxide as an acre of trees. So think about around the world, we want to plant trees and plant 1 million trees to absorb carbon dioxide. Well, we can do this 4 times more efficiently by planting hemp. It's also one of the world's most renewable raw materials. It grows between 90 and 120 days versus trees that take about 5 to 20 years to grow. It's the most effective at cleaning heavy metals out of our soils, remediating it, making it healthier for us to grow our foods and live on again. And what I'm most excited about is you can actually build with it. You can build the most sustainable home in the world with it cheaper than ever before. For residential properties, we save about 48% of the cost of building materials, making it more affordable for us to live. It's also 2 times as light and 2 times as strong as concrete, and you get no mold, better air quality, and a longer lasting house when you build this material. That's what we're building with at the bottom left-hand side of the screen. How do we scale this? My solution is the EcoPoint token. And what I call this solution is I say fintech for sustainable investors and responsible consumers. What does this mean? What we want to do is we want to invite individuals to come with us and grow acres of hemp. So when we grow more hemp, we can produce more of this raw material to build our homes with it. Pretty simple. We crowdfund and share in the impact of the hemp supply chain so that we all win. What does this mean? You'll give our money to our platform, we'll grow hemp for you, and we'll allow you to track that money as it goes through the hemp supply chain. As we sell our hemp flour, you make money. As we sell our hemp seeds and you eat your hemp seed milk or your hemp protein milk, if you go to Booster Juice and you eat like the hemp seeds in your protein, you make money. As we sell our hemp for textiles, for clothing, so on and so forth, you make money. And as we sell these hemp blocks to make our houses, you also make money. But what we also do is, as we make an environmental impact, you also make money. As we remediate old soils, bring them up, raise the property tax value, make them more profitable, you make money. And as we remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, you also make money. We share in the economic and environmental benefits of the hemp supply chain. Just an example for the environmental benefits, right now, an acre of hemp will absorb on average 4 tons of carbon dioxide in the summertime. Right now, we in a federal carbon tax, we have a federal carbon tax that's about $20 per ton emitted. So if you just do reverse math, 4 times 20, that means you get $80 for planting hemp in the summertime. And that's what we're gonna give you in our system. Now, what can you use this money for, right? We're using artificial intelligence in our platform to limit the uses of your EcoPoints only for responsible or sustainable products. That means now when we're up and running, we're at our MVP right now, we're not commercially ready, but when we are commercially ready, we want a world where you can use your EcoPoints, they're stable coins, so they'll be one-to-one with the Canadian dollar, and now you can go to stores, you can buy things like vegan foods, sustainable fashion, plant-based medicines, energy efficient cars. If you want to use your money for a down payment on your future Tesla, you can do that. You can use it for debt settlement. I have OSAP that I need to pay back. I can grow hemp and pay back my OSAP. Or I can use it for green homes and buildings. This is how we empower our youth. This is how we empower us all to help change the world. How do your rewards work? I already mentioned that it's a stable coin that will be pegged to the Canadian dollar. You earn year after year returns on your initial investment just for growing hemp. We'll grow hemp year after year for you with our farmers. And at the bottom, you see a little chart. It shows that the money will go up bit by bit from year 1, 2, 3. But in year 4, what you actually get is this big, gigantic reward. Why is that? Because what we want to do is reward you for planting hemp year after year. And in the last year, we actually want to give you this dollar amount. This is based on our model, but right now we have it at over $20,000 so that you can go put a deposit down on your eco-friendly home. Or if you want to buy a Tesla car, you can put a deposit down on your Tesla car, so on and so forth. We want to make it easier for you to own your home in the future and easier for you to own a green home in the future. What does that lead to? Oh, sorry. This is some hemp that I planted on the left side of the screen. This is what the first hemp home built in Canada, is built in Soot, British Columbia, looks like. This is called the Harmless Home. No greenhouse gas emissions, energy efficient. The owner, his name is Arno, he actually creates more energy than he uses because he has solar panels on the roofs as well. Fire resistant, mold resistant, less money on insurance, so on and so forth. All these positive benefits. Now, why do we use blockchain? For the technology advantage, we want transparency in the system. If you're gonna give me money to plant hemp and I'm gonna go sell that hemp to make money, the customer needs to know what's happening with that money. We wanna keep loyalty in our consumer. We also want this to be secure. We want there to be global liquidity, and we wanna have open source or impact applications. We're working on a model that allows you to donate your EcoPoints up, and to send them around the world to World Vision, or if there's a natural disaster in part of the world, you can open source that impact and send it to where you want it to go. What does this mean for our global impact? Well, right now, we're expected to build about 230 billion meters square of new construction between now and year 2060. On the right side, I show Architecture 2030. Their goal is to have zero embodied carbon emissions between now and the year 2050, right? Embodied carbon accounts for about half of our emissions in the construction industry. Embodied carbon is all the emissions that go out when you harvest, when you mix, when you mine building materials, mainly cement, right? So we want to reduce that and get that to zero. Well, if we switch to building with hemp, we would save over 99.6% of embodied carbon emissions between now and year 2060. This is how we scale impact. Arnold, I'm just coming from Vancouver, the Canadian Green Building Council. They had their annual meeting, and they talked about, you remember the building that you're in for how it makes you feel, right? Well, Arnold couldn't have made that statement any stronger when he told us that since they moved into their house, they have never slept better. They have never been more productive. And that's not a surprise to me, because Harvard did a study and they talked about when you live in or work in green buildings, you get between 61 and 101% better cognitive productivity. You also have fewer health symptoms, better perceived indoor environmental health quality, so on and so forth. Green buildings are much better for us to live in, and it's to no surprise because we spend a majority of our times indoors. If we're indoors in a bad indoor air climate, then we're gonna have bad negative health. I want to end by just showing you my niece, right? My niece is 2 years old now. By the year 2050, she'll be 33 years old. One of the reasons why I'm working on this project right now is because I want her to be able to afford her house in the year 2050. I want her to be left with a vibrant planet. I want her to be left with something secure and where she's not spending $94,000 on things like home insurance. That money can be spent elsewhere. And I would think that this is something that we want for all of our families. And this is where blockchain could come in and help us scale impact. And even if climate change is a fraud, even if it doesn't exist, and even if we solve all these problems, we still end up leaving the world in a better place. So this is why we're working on our project, and we're Atlas 365. Thank you very much.
I have a couple of questions, Akeem. How much does it cost for a house compared to, like a greenhouse compared to a regular house? I missed that.
So the overall cost of the house depends on everything else that you put into it. But I will say that just by switching from the normal concrete brick to these hemp bricks, you save about 48% of the cost of the building materials. Mm-hmm. So there was a case that I did. The house that you saw, it's about 3,000 square feet. It's pretty big. The building materials for concrete would have cost about $195,000. We reduced that to about $95,000, $96,000 just by switching the materials.
Okay, all right, that's really good. Thank you, thank you. Excellent. Does anyone have any questions? We're actually ahead of schedule. Yes. That's a good one. That's a very good question. I should have asked that. I'm Jamaican, right? Oh my gosh.
No worries. So I mentioned the houses are 2 times as light and 2 times as strong as concrete. So right now we've gone through wind and hurricane tests that they show that they stand up to winds 320 kilometers per hour, which is really strong, seeing that no hurricane has ever hit land with that strong of winds. So they're also fire resistant. They have the 2-hour flame rating test, and they're non-combustible. So that means you can save money on your fire insurance. What else? Mold resistant. So one of the funny stories that Arnold told us, when they were constructing their house, there was actually a rainstorm, and one day they came in to start work and there was rain everywhere inside. Funny enough, they came back one day later and the hemp, it seemed, had absorbed all the moisture out of the house and left no mold in the walls, which is really exciting because we know that mold is one of the things that our houses are susceptible to because of how we build today. And with all these floods coming in, Muskoka, Toronto, so on and so forth, they leave our houses, our basements with mold. That's where we're spending a lot of money on repairs. So these are some of the benefits of the house. Insect repellent as well. Yeah.
Her question was, does it stand true for termites also?
Another question? Mm-hmm. So the AI is it on chain? Yes, right. And we use it in multiple different phases of our supply chain. So we use it on the farm to help our farmers optimize their yields, and we record all that data on the blockchain. We also use it in our central bank. In the sheet I showed you how the money goes up bit by bit, and in year 4 you see a spike in your rewards. That's because we're using the artificial intelligence to dynamically price and dynamically reward our consumers for being in our supply chain. For example, if one year there's an extreme drought and there's less hemp being produced, we need to make sure that we're recording the amount of carbon dioxide that we record the right way, and we're rewarding you the right way so that we keep stability in our ecosystem, keep stability in our bank. So we use AI in multiple different places throughout our supply chain, dynamically reward and dynamically price. We use it with our farmers to optimize their yields, so on and so forth. Partnerships, we're working on 2 of them right now. So we're from the city of Brampton, and we're working really strong with Brampton Economic Development Office. We're also clients at the Peel Rick Center. We've applied to Creative Destruction Lab. That's funny enough because we need more help with our economics of what we're doing. Like I said, right now we're at MVP. We are in hemp production, and we have our physical supply chain going. Now we're looking to apply blockchain to this to help us scale this solution globally.
Okay, we'll take one more question and then we'll...
Paving? You mean for like drop? Not with this specific brick that I showed you, but what's funny enough, I mentioned hemp has 4 major byproducts of it. The flower, which for the CBD, the seed for the food. Some people see it in their makeups or their hair products right now, hemp seed oil. The hurd, which is what with the woody core that we use for the blocks. But the fiber has actually been starting to come up and being used in concrete reinforcement to make your concrete a little bit stronger. So the fiber can be used for clothing, sustainable clothing, so on and so forth. Our fashion industry is responsible for 7% of greenhouse emissions, so we can use it there. But some people are using it for concrete reinforcement as well to make their concrete stronger. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good questions, and you helped get us back on track. So thank you.